Please don't let them find me, she begged. The outlaw had no idea what he just walked into. The red dust moved slowly across the wide desert like a living ocean. Long shadows stretched across the cracked ground as the twin suns of dustfall sank toward the horizon. A lone rider moved through the empty land, his hoverbike humming softly as it glided just above the sand. His name was Cole. People across the frontier called him many things: outlaw, drifter, troublemaker, but none of those names meant much to him anymore. Years ago, he had chased bounties and fought in small wars between rival factions. Now he wanted only silence and distance. Cole adjusted his worn hat as a gust of wind pushed against him. His coat flapped behind him, carrying the dust of 100 roads. The only companion he trusted was the old plasma revolver resting at his side. The desert was quiet, almost too quiet. He slowed his bike as a faint sound crackled through his comm device. At first, he ignored it. Signals often bounced across the frontier: broken messages, fake distress calls set by bandits, or dying machines sending ghost signals. But the sound came again, a weak voice. "Please, anyone," Cole frowned. He almost turned the device off. Trouble followed distress calls, and he had promised himself he would stay clear of trouble. The voice returned, more desperate this time. "Please don't let them find me." He stopped the bike. For a long moment he stared at the empty horizon. The smart choice was to leave. Someone else's problems were not his anymore. Yet something in the voice stayed with him, raw fear, not a trap. With a quiet sigh, Cole turned the bike toward the signal source. He rode for nearly 20 minutes before spotting smoke rising from a narrow canyon. The cliffs formed jagged teeth against the sky. He slowed as he approached, scanning for movement. A crashed shuttle lay half buried in sand. Its metal hull was torn open, and small sparks flickered from damaged systems. Cole dismounted slowly, hand resting near his weapon. "Hello," he called out, no answer. He stepped closer, boots crunching against broken glass and metal pieces. The shuttle looked advanced, far beyond anything usually seen on Dustfall. That alone made him uneasy. Inside the wreckage, shadows moved. Cole raised his hands slightly. "Easy, I'm not here to hurt you." A young woman slowly emerged from behind a broken panel. Dust covered her face, but her eyes were sharp and alert despite the fear in them. She held a small tool like a weapon, though her hands shook. "Don't come closer," she said quickly. "I won't," Cole replied calmly. For a moment they stared at each other. She studied him carefully, the worn coat, the outlaw's posture, the tired eyes of someone who had seen too much. Then she spoke again, voice trembling. "Please don't let them find me." Before he could answer, a loud roar echoed overhead. Cole's head snapped upward. Hunter drones. 3 sleek machines crossed the sky, scanning the canyon with bright search beams. The woman's fear turned into panic. "They're here already." Cole moved fast. He grabbed her arm gently but firmly. "If they wanted you dead, you'd already be dust. That means they're searching. We need to move." He led her toward the hoverbike just as a scanning beam swept across the canyon wall. They jumped onto the bike, and Cole pushed the engine hard. The bike surged forward, kicking up a cloud of dust as they raced out of the canyon. A storm gathered nearby, dark clouds swirling low across the land. Cole drove straight into it, using the thick dust to hide their escape. Wind howled around them, sand hitting like tiny needles. The woman held tightly to him, her grip tense but steady. After several minutes, the sounds of the drones faded. Cole slowed only when he was sure they were safe. They stopped near a rocky ridge where the storm blocked visibility. He turned slightly to look at her. "You got a name?" he asked. "Mara," she said softly. "Well, Mara, whoever is chasing you has serious equipment." She hesitated. "I told you you shouldn't help me." "Too late now," Cole said with a faint smile. "You're already on my bike." She looked at him carefully, as if deciding how much to trust. "Where are we going?" she asked. "There's an old mining town nearby," he replied. "Nobody asks questions there." She nodded but remained tense. As they continued riding, Cole noticed small details about her. Despite her injuries, she moved with confidence. The device attached to her wrist looked advanced, glowing faintly with shifting symbols he didn't recognize. Not a normal traveler, not even close. Night began to fall as they reached the edge of the mining settlement. Old buildings stood half-broken, neon lights flickering weakly. A few locals watched them pass but quickly looked away, the unwritten rule of frontier towns. Cole parked near an abandoned saloon that served as his temporary safe house. Inside, the air smelled of dust and metal. He helped Myra sit down and gave her water. "You want to tell me why an army is hunting you?" he asked. She stared at the floor for a long moment. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They will destroy anything to find me." "That's not an answer." "I know," she said quietly. "But if I tell you everything, you won't let me stay." Cole leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. "Try me." She looked up at him, eyes filled with fear but also determination. "I escaped from people who control things that should never exist," she said slowly. "And now they want me back." Before he could ask more, a loud explosion echoed from outside, shaking the building slightly. Cole's instincts kicked in immediately. He grabbed his revolver and moved toward the door. Outside, armored vehicles rolled into the town, their lights cutting through the darkness. Myra's voice trembled behind him. "They found us." Cole sighed softly, almost amused by the chaos following him again. "Well," he said calmly, tipping his hat forward, "guess quiet nights ain't my style after all." The engines roared closer as danger arrived at their doorstep, and Cole realized helping this stranger might drag him into the biggest fight of his life. The engines outside grew louder, shaking the ground beneath the old mining town. Bright white lights swept across the streets as armored vehicles moved slowly between broken buildings. The peaceful silence of dustfall was gone, replaced by the cold presence of hunters. Cole stood near the door, watching carefully through a cracked window. His eyes moved quickly, counting the number of enemies. Too many. "These aren't regular bounty hunters," he said quietly. Myra stood behind him, her hands trembling slightly. "I told you they won't stop." Cole turned toward her. "Then you better start talking. I need to know what kind of storm just rolled into my life." Outside, heavy boots hit the ground. Soldiers moved in organized lines, scanning every building with advanced sensors. Their armor shone under the artificial lights, and small drones floated above them like silent birds. Myra took a deep breath. "They work for a corporation called Heliox," she said slowly. "Officially, they explore new worlds and build technology. But secretly, they experiment with alien relics." Cole raised an eyebrow. "Alien relics?" She nodded. "Ancient machines, older than anything humans have built. Some can control energy fields, even reshape entire environments." Cole stared at her, unsure whether to believe it. "And you stole one?" he asked. "No," she replied quickly. "I learned how they work, that's why they want me alive." He studied her face, searching for lies. Instead, he saw fear mixed with determination. Outside, a loudspeaker activated. "Attention, citizens, remain inside. A dangerous fugitive is present in this area. Anyone assisting will face severe consequences." Cole gave a small laugh. "They really know how to make friends." Mara looked at him urgently. "We need to leave now." "Not through the streets," Cole replied. "They'll expect that." He moved toward a trapdoor hidden beneath old floorboards. He lifted it, revealing a dark tunnel below. "Old mining routes," he explained. "Most folks forgot about them." They climbed down quietly, closing the trapdoor behind them. The tunnel smelled of rust and dry earth. Dim lights flickered as Cole activated a small handheld lamp. Their footsteps echoed softly as they moved deeper underground. Mara glanced around. "You know this place well." "I used to run cargo through here," he said, "back when I trusted people more." She noticed the sadness in his voice but didn't ask questions. After several minutes, they reached a wider chamber where old mining machines rested like sleeping giants. Cole paused to listen. Silence, for now. Mara sat on a rock, exhausted. She pulled off a small device from her wrist and began adjusting it carefully. Cole watched with curiosity. "That thing looks expensive." "It helps me track energy signals," she said. "Heliox used alien technology to change my neural patterns slightly. I can interact with systems most people can't." He frowned. "Sounds dangerous." "It is." Her voice carried regret. "I thought we were helping humanity," she continued softly. "But they planned to use the technology as a weapon. Entire settlements could disappear during testing." Cole remained silent for a moment. "Why didn't you stop them earlier?" he asked gently. "I tried," she said. "That's why I ran." Before he could respond, a distant rumble shook the tunnel. They froze. Dust fell from the ceiling as faint mechanical sounds echoed above. "They're scanning underground," Mara whispered. Cole cursed under his breath. "They're smarter than I hoped." He quickly led her deeper into the tunnels. The path twisted and narrowed, forcing them to move carefully. At one point, the ceiling dipped low enough that they had to crouch. Suddenly, a small drone dropped through a hole ahead of them, its scanning light flashing. Cole reacted instantly. He fired a precise shot, disabling it before it could signal their location. "They're close," he said. Mara's breathing grew faster. "There's a relay station east of here," she said. "If we reach it, I can send a signal to allies." "Allies sound good right now," Cole replied. They continued moving until they reached a hidden exit at the edge of the desert. Night had deepened, and cold wind swept across the dunes. Cole's hoverbike waited where he had hidden it earlier. He checked the fuel levels quickly. "Still running," he said. Just as they prepared to leave, a voice called from behind. "Well now, looks like I guessed right." Cole turned sharply. A local man stood near the tunnel entrance, a trader from town. His eyes shifted nervously between them and a small communicator in his hand. "You sold us out," Cole said calmly. The man swallowed. "They offered more credits than I've seen in my life." Myra stepped back in fear. Moments later, lights appeared on the horizon, armored vehicles. Cole sighed. "Should have known someone would talk." He jumped onto the bike. "Hold tight," he told Myra. The engine roared as they sped into the open desert. Behind them, enemy vehicles followed, their engines powerful and relentless. Laser shots flashed across the sand, exploding in bright bursts. Cole leaned low, guiding the bike through narrow rock formations to slow their pursuers. Myra held onto him tightly, eyes wide. "Can we outrun them?" she shouted. "Outrun, maybe not," he said, "but I know places they won't like." Ahead, ancient ruins rose from the desert like broken bones of a giant creature. Cole drove straight toward them. The mercenary vehicles slowed slightly, hesitating at the edge of the ruins. Myra looked forward in surprise. "You know what this place is?" "No," Cole admitted. "But they look nervous. That's good enough for me." They crossed into the ruins just as the first light of dawn touched the sky. Behind them, the hunters stopped at the border, waiting, watching. And Cole realized the chase was far from over. The ruins stood silent beneath the pale light of dawn. Tall, broken pillars stretched toward the sky like the ribs of an ancient beast long turned to stone. Sand drifted slowly across the ground, covering parts of strange symbols carved into the dark metal structures. Cole slowed the hoverbike as they moved deeper inside. The air felt different here, heavy and quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Behind them, the mercenary vehicles waited at the edge of the ruins. They did not follow. "That's strange," Cole said softly. "Hunters like them don't usually stop unless they're scared." Mara looked around carefully. Her wrist device glowed brighter, responding to something unseen. "They know what this place is," she whispered, "and they're afraid of it." Cole parked the bike near a half-buried structure and stepped down, scanning the area with caution. His instincts told him this place was dangerous, but also safe for now. "Let's keep moving," he said. "No point staying in the open." They walked toward a wide opening between two leaning pillars. Inside, a large chamber stretched downward, illuminated by faint blue lights embedded in the walls. Dust floated in the air, glowing softly. Mara stepped forward slowly, her eyes filled with wonder and fear. "This is alien architecture," she said quietly. "Older than anything Heliox ever found." Cole watched her closely. "You sure coming here was a good idea?" "No," she admitted, "but it may be our only chance." As they moved deeper, the floor beneath them hummed softly. Symbols along the walls began to glow, reacting to their presence. Suddenly, a low vibration passed through the chamber. Cole froze. "Did you do that?" Myra shook her head, but her device pulsed faster. "It's responding to me," she said. Ahead, a circular doorway opened slowly with a soft mechanical sound. Light spilled out, revealing another chamber filled with tall pillars covered in moving patterns. The ruins were waking up. Cole rested his hand near his revolver. "I don't like places that move on their own." Mara walked forward carefully. As she approached the center of the room, a thin beam of light scanned her body from head to toe. She gasped but did not step back. The symbols around the room changed, shifting into new shapes. "It recognizes me," she said in surprise. "Recognizes you how?" Cole asked. "I don't know," she replied. "Maybe because of the changes Heliox made to my neural patterns." A low voice echoed faintly through the chamber, not words, but a tone filled with intelligence. Cole's eyes narrowed. "That doesn't sound friendly." "It's not attacking," Mara said gently. "Maybe it's testing." She reached out carefully toward a floating panel of light. When her hand touched it, images appeared in the air, star systems, energy waves, and ancient structures. Her eyes widened. "This technology can control planetary energy fields," she whispered. It can stabilize storms, heal damaged ecosystems, or destroy entire regions if used wrong. Cole felt a chill. So Heliox wants a weapon, he said. Yes, she replied. And this place may be the original source. Before they could say more, a loud rumble echoed behind them. Dust fell from the ceiling. Cole turned sharply toward the entrance. They're coming, he said. Outside, mercenary forces finally crossed into the ruins, moving slowly but with determination. They had decided the risk was worth it. Myra looked at the glowing systems urgently. We need to move deeper. The core of the structure might allow us to hide or shut everything down. Lead the way, Cole said. They ran through winding corridors as the ruins continued to activate. Walls shifted, creating new paths while closing others. Soft lights followed Myra's movements, guiding her forward. Behind them, footsteps and distant voices echoed. The mercenaries were inside. Cole glanced back while running. You got a plan, or are we just trusting the glowing walls? I'm learning as we go, she replied. They reached a narrow bridge crossing a deep chamber filled with floating light fragments. Energy moved like slow rivers beneath them. Myra paused briefly, overwhelmed by the beauty. It's incredible, she said softly. Save the sightseeing, Cole replied. Company's coming. They crossed quickly just as enemy soldiers appeared at the far end. Energy shots flashed past them, striking the walls with bright sparks. Cole fired back with precise shots, forcing the mercenaries to slow down. They continued deeper until reaching a massive circular room, the heart of the ruins. At the center stood a glowing sphere surrounded by floating rings. Myra approached slowly, feeling a strange connection. This is the core, she said. Suddenly, a new voice echoed behind them. Step away from the device. Cole turned. The mercenary leader stood at the entrance, tall and calm, his armor marked with advanced technology. We finally caught you, he said to Myra. Cole raised his weapon. You picked the wrong outlaw to chase. The leader smiled slightly. We don't want him, only you. Myra stepped forward, fear mixing with courage. You can't control this technology, she said. It will destroy everything. That decision is not yours, the leader replied coldly. Tension filled the room as both sides stood ready. Cole glanced at Myra. You know what to do. She nodded slowly. Outside, the ruins pulsed with growing energy, as if waiting for a choice that would decide the fate of the frontier. The glowing core floated in the center of the chamber like a small artificial sun. Rings of light rotated slowly around it, casting moving shadows across the ancient walls. The air vibrated with quiet power. Cole stood beside Myra, his revolver steady but his mind racing. The mercenary leader watched them calmly, surrounded by armed soldiers who aimed their weapons without hesitation. Step away from the core, the leader repeated, his voice cold and confident. Your escape ends here. Myra swallowed but did not move back. Fear was clear in her eyes, yet something stronger pushed her forward, determination. You don't understand what this place can do, she said. It wasn't built as a weapon. The leader gave a small smile. Everything becomes a weapon when used correctly. Cole shifted slightly, positioning himself between Myra and the soldiers. I've heard enough speeches from powerful men, he said calmly. They always think control makes them right. The leader's gaze turned toward him. You're only delaying the inevitable, outlaw. Walk away now and you might survive. Cole tipped his hat slightly. Never been good at walking away. Behind him, the core pulsed brighter, reacting to the rising tension. The floating rings spun faster, creating soft waves of energy that moved through the chamber. Myra looked at the system carefully. Symbols appeared in the air, responding to her presence. It's waiting for input, she whispered to Cole. I think it's asking for a decision. What kind of decision? He asked quietly. To activate or to shut itself down permanently. Before he could reply, one of the mercenaries stepped forward impatiently. Enough talking, he said, raising his weapon. Cole fired first. The shot struck the weapon, knocking it aside. Chaos erupted instantly as energy blasts filled the air. Cole moved quickly, using pillars for cover while returning precise shots. He didn't fire to kill, only to disable and slow them. Myra rushed toward the core, her hands shaking as she interacted with the floating symbols. The chamber responded immediately. Walls shifted and energy barriers rose between her and the mercenaries. The leader remained calm despite the sudden changes. You think you can control it, he said loudly. You are only a key, not the owner. I'm trying to protect it, she replied. Cole continued moving, forcing the soldiers to spread out. Dust and light filled the air as blasts struck ancient metal surfaces. Suddenly, the ground trembled. The core's glow intensified, filling the chamber with bright light. Mara gasped as images flashed around her, visions of ancient civilizations using the technology to heal broken worlds, stop storms, and restore dying ecosystems. "It wasn't made for war," she said softly. "It was meant to protect life." The leader stepped closer despite the danger. "That doesn't matter," he said. "Power always finds its purpose." He activated a device on his arm, sending a pulse toward the core. The energy barriers flickered. Mara struggled to maintain control. Cole saw her falter and moved toward her, sliding behind cover as shots followed him. "You got this?" he asked. "I don't know," she admitted. "If I destroy it, no one can misuse it, but all its knowledge will be lost." Cole looked at the glowing sphere. "All I know," he said quietly, "is that some things are too dangerous for people who only want power." She nodded slowly. Decision made. She reached forward and activated a final sequence. The core changed color, shifting from bright blue to warm gold. A deep tone echoed through the chamber as the system began a shutdown process. The mercenary leader's calm expression finally broke. "No!" he shouted. "Stop her!" The soldiers rushed forward, but the ruins reacted instantly. Energy waves pushed them back, lifting them off the ground briefly before dropping them safely away. Cole stood protectively beside Mara as the chamber filled with light. "Is it working?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "The system will hide itself, burying the technology beyond reach." The walls began closing slowly, sealing pathways. Realizing they were losing, the mercenary leader signaled retreat. The soldiers pulled back quickly, disappearing into the corridors. Silence returned as the core's light faded. Finally, everything stopped. The chamber grew dark, leaving only faint, glowing lines along the walls. Mara exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. "It's done," she whispered. Cole lowered his weapon, scanning the area carefully. No enemies remained. Outside, the ruins began to settle, parts of the structure sinking deeper into the desert as if returning to sleep. They walked back toward the entrance together. The desert wind greeted them, calm and quiet again. The mercenary vehicles were gone, leaving only tracks fading into the sand. Mara looked at the horizon. "They won't stop searching forever," she said softly. "But without the core, they have nothing." Cole nodded. She turned toward him, gratitude in her eyes. "You didn't have to help me." He gave a small smile. "Guess I'm bad at ignoring trouble." She laughed gently, the first real laugh since they met. "What will you do now?" he asked. "I need to find others who believe in protecting knowledge," she said. "Maybe rebuild something better." He nodded slowly. She stepped closer and hugged him briefly. "Thank you, Cole." He watched as a small transport ship arrived, a hidden contact she had called earlier. She boarded quietly, pausing at the door to look back one last time. Then the ship lifted into the sky, disappearing among the stars. Cole stood alone in the desert again, but something had changed. He climbed onto his hoverbike and started the engine. As he rode toward the horizon, a new signal crackled through his comm device. Another voice. Another story waiting to begin. Cole smiled slightly beneath his hat and accelerated into the endless frontier.